evening, everybody, and welcome to Meteorology Lab for April 4th, 2018, and there's not much to look at out there, just almost clear skies, a little bit of cirrus off to the south, and pretty typical Texas sunset there. We do have some big changes on the way, and we'll take a look at the chart and kind of go over some of that. We're already picking up a southerly flow. The big high pressure region has pushed on off to the east. Things are moving very quickly from east to west in the United States. And as you can see, the surface system that we had yesterday is already in the Canadian Maritimes. This is the main baroclinic zone, and we see that over around New Brunswick. And about 24 hours ago, that was located in northwestern Indiana. So it's moved almost 1,000 miles in 24 hours, which is going to be a movement of about 45 to 50 miles an hour. So tonight we've got this high pressure area. This is a 1026 millibar high covering the Mississippi and Ohio River regions. Our big change is visible up to the north. High pressure out over the Arctic ice pack. And we've got a front through the prairies, about like that, and a lot of cold air, which is piled up there in the Northwest Territories. And another way we can look at that is on digital atmosphere. We can head up north, and there's our next change. And I don't think I've ever seen high pressure this powerful so late in the season. So 1050 millibars up there, and this is a lot of cold air up in that region. Let's take a look at temperatures up in that region. Not too severe, but temperatures are in the single digits to the teens, and a few below zero readings. In fact, if we go up to Resolute and Eureka, we get down below -10. So yeah, there is cold air, and the air that we're going to see here in the Central Plains at this time, it's out in this region right there. Okay, the upper level patterns earlier this morning showing a big trough across the Great Lakes extending down to Illinois and Indiana. And we've got some ridging across New England there, and that's partly due to warm air that's been spiraling around the east and north side of that low, advecting just north of there and helping to thicken up those heights in the middle troposphere. This troughing here, that's a reflection of the cold air that's associated with that high pressure. And the next changes are going to come from the Pacific and from the Canadian North. And we do have the Hudson Bay vortex up there. A little bit flattened out, but there it is right there around Churchill. Okay. So anyway, we've gone over the isobars and thickness. So we can take a couple of soundings, for example. There's Fort Worth with the clear skies in this area. We can see the cool air mass reflected by the wind direction there. So we're about 5,000 feet deep. And then above that, that's probably a little bit of tropical air there. And then above that is the elevated mixed layer originating from Mexico, New Mexico, and Arizona. Got some strong westerlies aloft, 80 knots up there at about 40,000 feet. Take a look at another sounding. Let's try going northwest to Amarillo. Got 35 knot winds out of the south, so the air mass is trying to recover, but as you can see, there's hardly any moisture. Dew points are in the single digits in that region. Let's look down south and see what might be coming up this way. There's Corpus Christi. And the moisture is showing up in that region. low 50s dew points up to about 3,000 or 4,000 feet, and we can see the frontal inversion. And then above that, looks like some tropical air aloft. And then at some point up here, we probably pick up the elevated mixed layer. And let's try going down to Brownsville. That should be the crest of the moisture there. And yeah, we've definitely got quite a bit of moisture there. Dew points starting out around the low 60s and dropping off into the 50s, and you can see the column is saturated there. It's got the appearance of a warm front there, so that's probably going to be associated with some stratus and fog in that area. Then above that we can see a rather pronounced inversion. So there we probably pick up some of the elevated mixed layer there. Okay, I would expect it to be pretty quiet in chat today. People probably taking a breather, and it is the middle of 24 people. That's not too bad. Let's see who we got here. Erica Baker there in Coffeyville, Kansas, 49. Fair with haze, southeast winds. And Electric Dog reporting 34, broken clouds in northern Illinois. We got Fun with Tech here, and Adam Davis, winter's back in Pennsylvania. Mega John reporting 24 in Minnesota. Winter not wanting to let go. And we've probably got another week or two of that to go. Storm Spotter Apex reporting severe weather issues Friday evening. Looks like a forecast there, possible localized or capping inversion. I don't know, we'll take a look at the charts and see. Shirley Keast is with us, and Megan John says Friday is looking at a low in the single digits for Minnesota when that Arctic air comes down. David Moore reports northwest Texas yesterday, winds howling out of the north, single digit dew points. And we got Lexi Pixenwash, Burl H, and Electric Dog reminds us, don't forget to like. And that is appreciated. So we got some dry air across the southern plains there. This is the water vapor imagery. And it looks like we've got possibly an upper level trough. It's got that S shape on the back there. See that there? So that's probably a shortwave coming across the Four Corners region. And then going out to the west, it looks like we've got quite a bit of moisture coming on shore there in California. That's something we've been expecting for a couple of days now. And then a look out west, there it is. Lots of moisture coming onto the central and northern California coast. So it looks like it's going to be wet tonight in the San Francisco area up to Eureka and Arcata. And quite a bit of moisture back in behind that system heading for California there. Large low pressure out in the Gulf of Alaska and Eastern Pacific, and that's going to have an effect on the Arctic air mass coming down south, and I'll explain that in a bit. In fact, I think probably now is about a good time for that. So what we've got here is the European model showing North America, and there's that big Arctic air mass north of Alaska, north of Yukon. The edge of it extends into the interior of Alaska and Yukon there. And there's that big low pressure offshore. So what's important about that is, if you take into account the pressure gradient, it's directed offshore like that. And what that means is that this cold air is going to pretty much move south unimpeded, because typically what we have is high pressure out in this region and progressive weather systems moving west to east. And we don't have that this time, so this is going to help bring that cold air southward. So let's take a look at the forecast with the European model for tomorrow morning. Cold front moving into North Dakota, into Montana. And it will be returning to January and February once again. very unseasonably cold outbreak coming south, and I would have to go back through the weather maps to see if there's been anything like this in April. So there's a leading edge on Friday morning, and by Saturday you can see that that's already pushed all the way through Texas. So that'll be a pretty powerful outbreak, and there it is coming south. We've also got a storm system coming on shore in Washington and British Columbia, starting to cross the mountains there on Saturday. You can see the pressure falls returning to the Rockies once again, and the Pacific high starts building in once again. So things will start improving pretty rapidly through the weekend. You can already see the southerly flow starting to try to pick up Sunday morning. Then by Monday, it's pretty quiet. We've got a weak weather system going through Illinois there. Big plateau high and Pacific high over the western states. There's our outgoing Canadian air. And we've got the return of pressure falls down there in the western Gulf. So we're just kind of in between systems there on Monday. Then for Tuesday, another outbreak coming south, but not quite as strong. But you can see the cold air advection set up. So that'll be kind of a reinforcing blast coming in for Tuesday, probably not as severe there. And then one of the Pacific systems makes it across the Rockies, and this one may be heading for the Great Lakes. And yeah, there it is. And another system on the tail end, so it could be kind of stormy next week around the 12th through 14th. Now you can see the Pacific air mass, mild air from the central Pacific there moving on shore, and this is more typical of what we see in late spring and summer. However, this one looks like it builds in pretty good, 1043 millibar high. That's a very strong Great Basin high. So I guess we're going to get it from both sides there. Cold air from Canada, and then possibly late next week, maybe a very cold outbreak of Pacific air coming from the west there. And you can see that pressure gradient right there across the plains. So both of those will keep the storm pattern shut down at least to about the third week of April. Let's compare that with the GFS and see how that looks. This is really a good time to be looking at the North American panel, so we can kind of compare things. Here comes the cold air coming south out of Canada for Friday. So we're looking at the U.S. model. Sweeps down into Texas, pretty good winds back behind that, and then by Saturday morning, that's cleared Texas. So we've got agreement between the European and the U.S. model. We've got the lee side trough there building in once again across New Mexico and Colorado for Sunday and Monday. So not much going on at that time. Here comes what looks like the reinforcing shot. The GFS looks to be a little bit weaker with that. So there it is. And then we see the pressure start dropping across the Rockies. The shading in here, this is the wind speed. So it looks like the winds are pretty gusty there in Nevada and Oregon. Gusting up to, well, this is sustained winds, 25 to 30 knots, so probably some gusts up to 40 there. And then you can see how they kind of shift out towards the high plains. And then we get the first of one of our systems heading for the Great Lakes there on the 12th. A little disagreement there between the ECMWF and the European model. And you can see Lake Superior there showing red shading indicating gusts of 35. No, we got to be careful about that. That's sustained winds of 35, so likely gusts up to 40 to 50. So probably quite a potent storm there going across that region. A couple of more systems back in behind that. Here comes the Pacific High building in. It looks like also the GFS not quite as strong with that ridging. But it does look like it moves into Texas. Kind of a weak cold air mass coming in for the 15th, heading out towards the Gulf there. And we got another system there in Nebraska. It looks like the Gulf isn't quite open yet, so we're going to be waiting a while for that moisture, maybe around the 18th or 19th. We'll just have to see there. And yeah, now here comes another cold air mass for the 19th and 20th. And the origin of this is the Pacific. So the prevailing flow is going to be north to south for at least 2.5 weeks or so. So this is probably a good time to research the journals and count and recount your chase gear there, and there's probably not much else to do until we get to later in the month. Looks like more cold air developing up there north of Alaska. I can see that 1029 millibar high. This is at the very end, 20th, so we'll wait and see on that. But I know by May we're almost definitely going to recover, and I'm sure we're going to see our share of severe weather coming up by then. Okay, I think that's about all I got for tonight. Glad to see the numbers on here. Ryan Toomey's joining us a little bit late there, reporting warm and muggy in South Florida. Rain showers all day with Tebow in the mid-80s. Electric Dog remembers getting socked by a snowstorm on April 10th, late 60s. And the example that I always mention is 1978. I think that was the first or second week in May. There was a big snowstorm in the Oklahoma Panhandle and the North Texas Panhandle up near Stratford and Guyman, Perryton. Those guys got anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of snow. And we're talking, this is back around May 3rd or May 4th of 78 there. So that was really a big one. Okay. Okay, not Tebow, but temps. Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. And Ryan says, prepare for May. And that's about all I got for tonight. Anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll be back. Let's see, tomorrow is Thursday. There's a possibility I may take a break. We'll just see what happens. But I'll definitely be back for Friday for that big cold front barreling southward. Okay, thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll see you all either tonight or tomorrow. Have a good one.